discuss quantitative relationship between plant growth and nutrient supply. If you remember, we covered topics like yesterday we covered topics like crop rotations, role of crop rotations in soil fertility, and specifically legumes, how they are important, and crop rotations role in improving physical, chemical, and biological properties of the soil. They are very, very important component of soil fertility management. Then we discussed three principles of soil fertility. First principle was law of minimum, which is very important. Second principle was law of synchrony, where you need to match the requirement of the nutrient to the supply. Means as per requirement, we need to supply the nutrient, and we discussed in detail. And third principle was nutrient cycling, means we should return back nutrients to the soil. Otherwise, with the time, it will become barren or fertility will decline. And these were the three important principles. And followed by, we discussed the crop response to soil fertility or nutrient availability. In that, we have seen variety of situations when the nutrient was very, very deficient, then it was acute deficiency, then latent deficiency or hidden hunger. Then after hidden hunger, you get optimum supply. Then in certain cases, luxury consumption is also possible. And then if you still increase concentration in soil or plant, then you can have toxicity in case of iron, aluminum, or some other elements. And acute toxicity also happens. So in law of minimum, you remember it was not considered this acute toxicity in that case. And then we also discussed the critical concentration of nutrients. Critical concentration of nutrient is with respect to soil, content of the nutrient in soil, and content of the nutrient in plant. So both are defined with respect to 90% yield. Means the point where we get 90% of the yield is critical deficiency of that particular nutrient in soil or in plant. Similarly, critical level for toxicity, it is again 90% or 10% reduction in yield. So everybody likes to have nutrient supply above the critical level. Means at least this much level should be there. Rather, little more level will give you sufficient supply of the nutrient. So during all this discussion, these were mostly qualitative kind of things. Your deficiency, symptoms, this and that. So today we extend that thing further to the quantitative relationship. How this nutrient supply will change the growth. Means if you go on adding the nutrient, how plant responds, how it responds with respect to the growth, with respect to accumulation of dry matter or with the production of the yield. So in that respect, it will be quantitative relationship, means kind of mathematical relationship between nutrient supply and the plant growth. So the basic purpose of today's lecture is to understand the concepts related to the plant growth or yield in relation to quantity of nutrient applied or supplied from the soil. Applied or supplied from the soil. And in this direction, there are certain fundamental concepts or models given by different people over years. And also, finally, we'll discuss the fertilizer yield functions. Functions means these are actually kind of models or kind of equations. So, for references, those who are interested to go into the details of this subject, or if you could not follow anything or things you could not follow, you can consult these two references: C.A. Black, Soil Fertility Evaluation and Control; J.D. Colwell, Estimating Fertilizer Requirements. Excellent, both are good books and they cover the subject in very detail. And both these books are available in library. In IRI Central Library, these two books are available. And if you don't get, I have a photocopy of both the books and I can share once the office is open. So I again start early concepts. People tried in the beginning that if you supply so much of nutrient, then what will be the change in the growth or yield? So definitely, Mr. Justus van Liebig was the first person to think over these lines, and he made certain conclusions from his work. and he is also considered as father of agricultural chemistry and the fertilizer industry. So, just a minute. So he is concerned. Sorry. What he said, he made certain points in relation to nutrient supply and the plant growth. He said that carbon in plants being derived from atmospheric CO2. I think this statement is okay. This is correct. This carbon comes mainly from the carbon dioxide from atmosphere. It is necessary for phosphorus is necessary for seed formation. I think this is also good. There is no doubt about it. And fertilizer recommendations based on chemical analysis of plants and interpretation of analysis. This is also good. He started this work actually. Then plant growth is proportional to the amount of mineral in fertilizer. This point is also okay. Plant growth is proportional to the amount of mineral in the fertilizer. But this can be contested also. It will depend that how much fertilizer you are supplying. It is not that if you supply more of fertilizer, and then your plant growth will continue to increase. So this point can be contested if you use excessive dose of the fertilizer. And then law of minimum, in certain cases even law of minimum has been criticized. It has got certain limitations also. So again, it may be slightly repetition for you, but I want to show you the exact words of the Liebig. What he said. Actually, these are all translations. Most of his work was reported in German language, which has been translated by other people. So these 3 points, he has written many points, but these 3 points are important ones relating to the law of minimum. So they have been translated as such. So number 1 is, by the deficiency or absence of one necessary constituent, all the other being present, the soil is rendered barren for all those crops to the life of which that one constituent is indispensable. This was the first statement. Second is, with equal supplies of atmospheric conditions of the growth of the plants, the yields are directly proportional to the mineral nutrients supplied in the manure. So he said, if you supply more nutrients through the manure, here manure means maybe fertilizer, maybe any nutrient source. So if you go on supplying, increasing the supply, yield will continue to increase. This is questionable statement. Then he said, in a soil rich in mineral nutrients, the yield of a field cannot be increased by adding more of the same substance. He said like this. So Liebig's law was invoked by Blackman in his analysis of the relationship between photosynthesis and various limiting factors. So overall, what I can say that law of minimum has been very, very useful, particularly in it gives you concept of balanced fertilization. If I want to explain you in a simple language, it can be explained that suppose you are going to have your dinner. In your dinner, you have rice, you have curd, you have vegetables, curry, meat, and several items are there, and you forgot to add the salt. If you have not added the salt, salt is required in very little amount. I think you will not eat the food. You will eat very small amount of food. So then, if you add the salt, you will eat the food. What happens in between? If you get butter, if you get butter also, if you add butter to your food, for most of the people in India, then it will become more tasty to you. Then you will like to eat still more. That means this butter was beneficial. So this butter was beneficial element which helped you to consume more, although it was never necessary to take butter. So this is how, and it can be treated as a factor also. You can treat this butter as a factor also, another factor which can increase your yield. So today the slides are very busy. You will find more content on the slide because I am reproducing the statements of the scientists and showing you certain laws. So after Liebig, Mitscherlich came into the picture. He was basically soil chemist, soil physicist, or he studied several subjects, and he also had good knowledge of mathematics also. So Mitscherlich criticized criticized the concept of Liebig, because Liebig said if you remove the factors, if you overcome the factors which are affecting the growth, then the yield or growth will continue to increase. It will be never ending. It will increase linearly and proportionately. It was Liebig's thinking. But Mitscherlich said, no, it is not like that. It will start decreasing, or there will be slow increase in growth. And every time you increase the input, the change or increase in output or change in growth will be slower and slowest. It was thinking of Mitscherlich. So he introduced mathematics in biology and presented the concept. So they are now known as Mitscherlich's laws. So first law of Mitscherlich is law of physiological relationships. So this law says that yield can be increased by each single growth factor even when it is not present in the minimum, as long as it is not present in optimum. So he says that even after minimum quantity of suppose one factor is at minimum level and you have added that factor. So by adding this factor, quantity of this factor, yield will continue to increase till you reach the optimum level. So starting from minimum to optimum, the yield will increase. His Mitscherlich's growth law. Second law was growth law. Increase in yield of a crop as a result of increasing a single growth factor is proportional to the decrement from the maximum yield obtainable by the increase in the particular growth factor. Now, in this case, he has quantified, he had put some mathematics, and this is also known as law of decreasing growth. Mitscherlich's growth law is also known as law of decreasing growth or decreasing yield, or law of declining yield improvement. Law of declining yield improvement, or law of decreasing growth. So this law says that the growth increases at a slower pace. Growth increases at a slower pace, and decrement means the amount of decrease. So actually, both these laws are overlap each other, and they have been derived basically from law of diminishing return. It is duplica or duplicate of law of diminishing return. He was inspired from the law of diminishing return, and the only difference is that he has put some mathematics relationship, and he has also found out certain regression coefficients or slopes. So you can see that Mitscherlich equation, something more about what is Mitscherlich equation. So Mitscherlich discarded Liebig's as assumption that the yield increase produced by fertilization was directly proportional to the quantity of nutrient or nutrients applied. So it was thinking of the Liebig, which he proved that it is wrong. So plant growth increased as more of this nutrient was added. That is true, but not in direct proportion. Means more nutrient, more growth, it will not happen. More nutrient, growth will be more, but the increase in growth will be slower. There will be decrement, there will be decrease in growth rate. The increase in growth with each successive addition of the element in question was progressively smaller. So Mitscherlich's concept can be expressed as dy dx is equal to a minus y multiplied by c. So this is Mitscherlich equation. Dy means change in yield, dx means change in input, or yield can be measured in terms of growth also. So dx means change in input, your fertilizer. X is your fertilizer, y is your yield. A is your maximum attainable yield. The maximum possible yield is your A, or Y means your actual yield. And C is a constant. C is a constant which is a kind of regression coefficient, and the values of C were estimated by Mitscherlich himself. He proposed certain values of for
Not audible, sir.
Not audible.
Not audible, sir.
How long? Just now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Thank you. So should I start from the beginning this slide? You can immediately tell me if such thing happen. Okay. Can you hear now? Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
should I start from the beginning? This slide?
Yes, sir.
From
O-
second point you can.
Okay, okay. So plant growth increased as more of this nutrient was added, but not in proportion to the amount of the growth factor added. The increase in growth with each successive addition of the element in question was progressively smaller, just law of diminishing return. Michel's concept is expressed as dy dx is equal to a minus y into c. dy means change in yield, dx means change in fertilizer or input. Means this is the change or change in y, change in x. Is equal to a means maximum attainable yield or maximum possible yield minus y is actual yield that can be obtained by x, and c is the proportionality constant or efficiency coefficient or a factor. So actually, Michellik has taken data from several fertilizer experiments, and from those experiments, he worked out the value of C. By using certain mathematics, he found out the value of C, and it was accepted in the beginning, but later on, value of C was criticized by the people because Michellik said that it will remain same. Value of C for phosphorus, for nitrogen, for potassium. He said this value is fixed and it will not change with the kind of fertilizer you are using or in the kind of soil you can use in different soils and also on different crops. So it will not change irrespective of the soil, crop or fertilizer type. So Michellik equation can be further manipulated. It can further mathematics can be applied, and many people try to improve this equation. There are lot many people, and even today, some people are trying to change or build up over this equation. So some simple mathematics can be employed. So then log can be taken. Log of the equation can be taken. So by integrating the above equation and converting to log to the base 10, the expression becomes log a minus y is equal to log a minus cx. So this is to make the calculations easier. You can take the log. So now we see what is the utility of the Michellik equation. Why it is important. So first is that when the constant C of a growth factor has been ascertained, so the C will vary with the factor with the nutrient. The quantity of yield corresponding to a given quantity of X can be calculated. Means once you know the C and you can predict, predictions can be made because it is a model. This equation can also be called as a model. So this is actually modeling. Mr. Lee did modeling. So in this case, if you know the value of X, so you can predict the value of Y from the equation. Number two, utility is the value of C carries with the particular growth factor. Mr. Lee found that the value of C was 0.122 for nitrogen, zero point 0.6 for P2O5 and zero point 0.4 for K2. So this question is sometimes asked in your quiz exam, what is the proportionality constant of Michellik for nitrogen, for phosphorus or for potassium. So you can remember these three values. And he also claimed that it was constant, it was same for each fertilizer nutrient, independent of the crop, soil, or the other conditions. But here he was criticized because under different conditions, people found different proportionality constant, different values for C. So, however, it has been observed in numerous other investigations that C is not a constant term and varies under different crop, soil, and environmental conditions. So, number 2 point was this. Number 3 is the determination of relative yield and profitable rate of fertilizer application. So, this is important. Even today, many people are using Michellik equation to determine the optimum rate of application of fertilizer or optimum dose of fertilizer. So this is important. So another important point is that there are two kind of cost. So in this case, other cost or fixed cost remain same, variable cost also remain same. Only one particular variable factor is variable, like fast fertilizer. So Mr. Lick showed his equation can determine the profitable rate of fertilization. He discussed the following cost. Number one, fixed cost. Fixed cost, I think most of the agronomy student understand what is fixed cost. Fixed cost is those kind of costs that remain constant regardless of the yield level, taxes, interest, or investment. Like your land. Land will have fixed cost. Whether you grow the crops or not, the land cost will be there. Whether you grow a good crop or bad crop, land cost will be always be there. So it is a fixed cost, and variable costs are those costs that vary with the magnitude of the total yield, means with the magnitude of the production. If you have more production, means you need more variable cost or variable inputs. For example, the quantity of fertilizer applied is a variable cost. The method can be used once the parameter of the equation have been estimated. So main parameter is C, proportionality constant. So just I am showing you that Michellik equation or modeling is still relevant. People are writing many papers based upon Michellik equation. So this part is important for soil science student, and I have seen many papers from Indian Institute of Soil Science where they are using Michellik equation. Some of them are in the section I am showing you. So you can see papers are coming up on the topic like reconciling the Michellik's law of diminishing return with Liebig's law of the minimum, some results on crop modeling. So people are using this equation in crop modeling. Another, you see, integrating the production function of Liebig and Michaelis, Menton, Michellik. There are so many people who have worked on this line. On the existence of best Michellik and so. Modified Michellik equation, number 4. Number 5 is comparison of modified Michellik and response Plateau models, evaluation of crop responses to applied fertilizer, phosphorus. Paper number 6 is from Bhopal, evaluation crop responses to applied fertilizer, phosphorus. Number 7, application of Michellik-Bray equation, use of modified Michellik model, use of Michellik equation in designing factorial expression. The message here is that this equation is still relevant. It has got some values. People are using it. It has some utility. You need not to remember the list of the paper. This is just to enhance your understanding and improve your vision. So now, based upon Michellik equation, Spillman also tried, and he also presented some concept. He developed mathematical expression of crop yield response to plant nutrients. He related yield to the plant nutrients, and Spillman form of Michellik equation. He taken most of the things from Michellik and put it in a different way. Y is equal to m minus a r power x. So Y is the yield expected from X amount of applied nutrient. M is the theoretical maximum yield possible. A is the theoretical maximum increase in yield obtained by increasing X, and R is constant. So actually this equation was not given any weightage by the scientific community. It is just in history. I am showing you, otherwise it has no any significance, this Spillman's equation. And then Bowley's concept. This concept is also not very practical, and it is just that sometimes you may be wrong also, but you have given some idea so that people can improve it. So Bowley, a German mathematician, became interested in Michellik's law of physiological relationship and proposed a modification of it. He proposed It is not the absolute increase in yield that reflect the effect of fertilizer, but the percentage increase in yield by fertilization. Actually, you have seen that some of you remember law of diminishing return. In the first phase, it increases at increasing rate. In second phase, it increases at decreasing rate, and in the third phase, it decreases at decreasing rate, further decreasing rate. So here also he is saying that after a certain level, the yield will decline, the yield will decrease, and this decrease can be expressed in percentage, and every time there will be 50% decrease of the previous decrease, 50% decrease of the previous decrease. So it is like this. He has proposed some mathematical, and he has fixed the change with the change in the unit of x or unit of input. So it is not the absolute increase in yield that reflect the effect of fertilizer, but the percentage increase in yield by fertilization. So he introduced the concept of effect quantity H, which is the quantity of the nutrient or other growth factor necessary to produce half means 50%, half the maximum yield. This quantity is known as 1 Boule unit. 1 Boule unit will increase yield within 50% of the maximum. If you have 2 Boule unit, then it will increase 75%, because 50% of 50%, because 50% of 50 is 25. So then 25 can be added into 50 and it becomes 75, and so on. Then you can take 75 into 50%, and whatever comes you add it into 75. So that is how he said that the yield will progress in this way. So when 1 Boule unit of a nutrient is present, x plus b is equal to 1. X means here the nutrient supplied through the fertilizer, and B is the nutrient supplied from the soil. He also considered nutrient supplied from the soil. B is nutrient supplied from the soil is equal to 1. So Y is equal to 0.5A, means 50% of the maximum yield. So it is 0.5A, so that he put this equation log A minus 0.5A, and then you can solve it, is equal to log A minus Cx, based upon Mitscherlich equation. So Mitscherlich's equation you know. So anyhow, he developed his equation. So you need not to bother about the derivation of the equation, but if possible, you can remember the equation. So based upon Mitscherlich equation, he has taken the log of this, log A minus Y is equal to log A minus Cx. So by this, he has calculated the value of C. Value of C, he has calculated 0.301 for his experiment. So according to this generalization, the value of C for all growth factors may be represented by 0.301. So see, Mitscherlich has proposed different values, but he has fixed whether it is N, P, K or temperature, any growth factor, the value of C will remain 0.301 if the supplies of the variable factors are expressed in Boule units. So now you can see calculation of relative yields from the addition of increasing amounts of a growth factor. Now you can see how he has worked out this 50%, 75% and so on. So if A is the maximum yield, is considered to be 100% maximum possible yield, the above equation can be written as log A minus Y. So in place of A, you can write 100. So is equal to log 100 minus 0.301x. You remember it was Cx. So value of C 0.031, and suppose 1 unit of x is used. 1 unit is used, 1 Boule unit. So log 100 minus y is equal to log 100 minus 0.301, and in place of x you can put 1. It was 1 unit, and if you solve it, then y is equal to 50. So in that way y comes out to be 50. The addition of 1 unit of the growth factor x result in yield that is 50% of the maximum. Next time in place of 1 you can put the value 2. So log 100 minus y is equal to log 100 minus 0.301 into 2. So if you solve it, it is y is equal to 75. and you can do it next time also. So it will be 50% of the 75 increase. The same operation may be repeated until 10 units of the growth factors have been added. The result of such series of calculations can be seen in the next slide. So you can see like this, it happens like this. You have 0, 1, 2, 3, these are the units of the growth factor and percentage of the maximum yield. Percentage of the maximum yield. So in first case it is 0, then 50%, then 75%, then 87.5. It will go on and finally you will get almost 100%. So he meant that if you use 10 units of the input, you will get maximum possible yield. And on the right side, you can see in the last column, you can see increase in yield, percentage increase in yield. So it is decreasing. Percentage increase in yield is decreasing, but it is constantly decreasing. It is decreasing with a ratio, and plants will not follow this kind of ratio. Plant will, in actual condition, it may not be there. So it is just a theoretical concept, and it is giving some idea. Okay, the yield, the increase in yield will decrease. So this is relative yields from the addition of increased amount of growth factor, and this has no any relevance. This Pauli units and this and that, this law has no relevance. Nobody is talking about it. So it is just in history. So same can be plotted. You can see this. This is following the law of diminishing return. You can see it. In the beginning, increases fast, then increasing slowly. So now the most important one is that fertilizer response functions. They are the most important and most practical aspect by which we can show the relationship between input and output. The relationship between input and output is known as response function. The relationship between input and output is known as response function. So your inputs are your variable like fertilizer, your irrigation, and variety of other inputs, and output is your growth or yield. So what happens there, that a function that relates yield, that is output per hectare, to the amount of fertilizer used, input per hectare, holding all other inputs constant. That is known as fertilizer response function. Estimated statistically in quadratic form, which allows for the incremental responsiveness of the crop to decline as a larger amount of fertilizer are used. Actually, what happened in most of the fertilizer experiment where people test the response of fertilizer, in 99% cases, response to fertilizer is generally quadratic response. So it is already established fact, and you can see the example. Y is equal to 2943 plus 19n minus 0.06 n square. So this is quadratic equation. So you can see value of equation is y is equal to a plus bx plus cx square. So value of a is 2943, means it is the value or estimated value at control. Here you don't have any x, no fertilizer was used. So the value is 2943 plus 19n, means 19 means your regression coefficient b, it is b, and minus 0.06 is your c. So a plus bx plus cx square. So if you put the value of n 0, value of nitrogen as 0 in the equation, you will get 2943. If you put value of n as 100, so you get 4243. So similarly, through this equation, we can make predictions. First thing is that we can make prediction within the range of the input used. And also we can calculate the optimum dose of the fertilizer. So these functions are quite useful, and these days people are using these functions. I missed many functions. There are 100 kind of concepts in this, where people try to relate to the nutrient content in soil or nutrient application into the soil to the growth of the plant. There is model of Bray, model of, so I cannot recall the names, mobility concept, sufficiency concept, so many concepts. It is not possible to cover all those and not required also, but there are so many concepts which can be integrated into this lecture, but it is not possible. I touched only the important ones, but soil science student might be knowing all those kind of concepts which are related to this topic. So you just have seen fertilizer response function means simply it is relationship between fertilizer doses and the crop yield. So these fertilizer response functions are or response to fertilizer can be influenced by several factors because with the change in technology, so you cannot have a fixed equation. This equation cannot remain fixed. Sometimes you need to change it with the change in variety, change in the soil type, change in the kind of fertilizer, change in the environmental conditions, because now there are climate changes are happening. So the equation which is good today may not remain good tomorrow. So changes can occur in the equation. They are not permanent. So response function can shift. They can shift for many reasons. Due to technological changes, there may be some technological changes, environmental changes, or economic development. For example, the introduction of high-yielding varieties or new varieties with improved nitrogen response will shift up fertilizer response function, resulting in more yield for the same level of fertilizer. Your technology is same, but you can get the more yield by changing the variety. So the new plant type and hybrid rice are example. Improved knowledge about the optimal timing of nitrogen. Suppose today we are saying that you apply nitrogenous fertilizer 2 times, but tomorrow if we say you apply nitrogen fertilizer 4 times, the fertilizer quantity is same, but the response will change. If you have changed the method of application of fertilizer, then the response to fertilizer will change. The equation which was, or it can go other way around also. Sometimes your technology, new technology can be harmful to the yield. So that way your response may decrease also. It is not that response will always increase. So it can happen both ways. Your response to fertilizer can increase or can decrease, but it will not remain same year after year, same in different soil and same in different varieties. It is very, very changeable, very, very variable. So on the other hand, just we are seeing the factors that are influencing the response to fertilizers. On the other hand, other factors can shift the response function down also, resulting in less yield for the same level of fertilizer. Example of such factors are decline in the nutrient supplying capacity of the soil. With the time, the nutrient supplying capacity of the soil may be reduced. A decline in the uptake capacity of the root system, maybe due to poisoning of the soil, pollution of the soil, maybe due to so many reasons could be there, but the nutrient supplying capacity of the soil can reduce or uptake by the plant can also reduce. So this will affect the response to fertilizer. If the use of inputs other than fertilizer changes because of economic forces, such as changes in the availability of labor or the wage rate, this would also cause a shift in the fertilizer. So it is all interactive. This response to fertilizer will depend upon the interaction of the nutrient element with other factors which are related to the growth. So they cannot work in isolation. This fertilizer response cannot work in isolation. Now, fitting a quadratic response equation. So this equation will tell us the quantitative change, the quantitative change in the this quadratic equation will tell us if we make a change in the input, how much will be the change in output. So this kind of relationship is quantitative relationship between two variables. So in this case, the response to fertilizer, plant population, irrigation levels, and some other inputs is generally quadratic. It is not just fertilizer. Many other variables in the crop production can have this quadratic relationship with the crop yield or growth of the crop. Before fitting the such response equation, it is necessary to ascertain that the treatment variables have a significant effect on dependent variable. So normally this agronomy student understand what is the significance of treatments. If a treatment is having significant effect on the yield, then only we can go for response curve fitting or fitting this quadratic equation. Otherwise, if your results are non-significant, you cannot fit this equation. Means the effect of fertilizer or different doses of fertilizer should be significant on the growth or yield of the plant. If it is significant, then we can go for response curve fitting or fitting this quadratic equation. If it is non-significant, then we cannot do it. Number two, the fitting of quadratic equation is shown below with a hypothetical example. I can show you how to develop the relationship between fertilizer and yield. So this is one example that fit a quadratic equation from the data given in the following table and calculate the optimum economic dose of the K2O when the cost of 1 kg K2O is 10 and price of 1 quintal rice is 500 kg. Just for 2 minutes, I want to take your attendance. Out of 25, 6 people are not there. If you can tell me name of 6 people, then I will not take attendance. Divya,
Present, sir.
Vipin,
Yes, sir.
Abhishek,
Yes, sir.
Abhishek,
Yes, sir.
Shashank, 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 Shashank absent, Kajal Arora,
Yes, sir.
Prakash,
Present, sir.
Amlan, Amlan is there, Aisan,
Yes, sir.
Ashok Singh, Ashok, 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 Sudarshan, 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 okay, Anamika,
Present, sir.
Avnish, Avnish not there, Santosh, Santosh, Ganesh,
Yes, sir.
Devrup, Devrup,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
okay, Subranja, Nayak,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sujit, Sujit, okay, Ravi Saini,
Yes, sir.
Deepak, Partha,
Yes, sir.
Present, sir.
Chinmay Bera,
Present, sir.
Saptaparni Day, Saptaparni Day, Saptaparni Day, absent, Ritambra,
Yes, sir.
Chinmay Roy,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sharad Kothari, Sharad Kothari, Kothari, Subhasis, Subhasis, Subhashis, Shravani,
Present, sir. Present, sir.
okay, Vidita,
Present,
Vidita,
sir.
Diana,
Present, sir.
okay, Sudama,
Present, sir.
Good. Thank you. So we come
Thank
back
you,
to
sir.
the. Okay. So Debrut, you are leaving. Those who like and who have urgent class can leave. No problem. So fit a quadratic equation from the data given in the following table and calculate the optimum economic dose of the means in this case you have you have x or input that may be fertilizer levels 0 30 60 90 120 and yield is 4 8 7 8 and so on. So every fertilizer level will have different yield. So in this case the data is significant, means effect of fertilizer doses on grain yield is significant, means the grain yield varies significantly with the application of fertilizer in this case, means it is not by experimental error or chance, they genuinely differ, these treatments genuinely differ significantly. So in this case we need to fit a quadratic equation, that is y is equal to a plus bx plus cx square. This is your equation. So you have value of x, you have value of y. From this data you need to fit this equation. So in this case you need to find out value of a, b and c. So using method of least square, you can find out the value of A, B and C. It can be done manually also and it can be done through computer also. You can use any software to find out value of A, B and C. So in this case, using the data in the last table you have seen, we can calculate the value of ABC, which is A is equal to 4861, B is equal to 26.646, C is equal to minus 0.1178. You can remember that value of C in the equation is positive. It is plus Cx square, but it has come in minus. When we do the calculation, it comes in minus because it is the rate of change. B and C are the rate of change in Y due to X. So when you go to the higher level of the dose, as you increase the dose, the value of this constant or value of regression coefficient decreases. So it becomes minus 0.1178. So we can put these values of A, B and C in the equation 4861.66 plus this 26.646 and minus this. So this is our equation. We have fitted this equation. This is the equation we have developed based upon the data given to us, and we can use manual methods or statistical tools like Excel or SAS to compute this equation. Now this equation has been computed and we should test it whether it is quadratic or not. We need to have some statistical test that this equation is significant. So we can also find out the value of r square, which is also important. So to see the fitness of the line. So yes, compute the, and from this, if it is significant, if this equation is significant, genuinely quadratic, then we can find out the optimum dose of fertilizer from this equation. Then we can establish the relationship between fertilizer doses and the yield. That will be a kind of model of fertilizer yield function. So you can draw the inferences, as I told you, that you need to test the significance of this equation. This is actually also called as regression equation. This regression equation can be tested for significance, and in this case, if you have computed value of f, actually f test is used. F test is used to test the significance of this equation, and in f test, if the calculated value of f are more than the table value of f at f1 and f2 degrees of freedom, at 1% or 5% level of significance, then we can say this equation is significant. This equation was proved to be significant. Then result indicate that the yield response of rice or any crop to fertilizer application can be adequately described by the quadratic equation, because this quadratic equation was significant. It was truly, genuinely a quadratic equation. Once it is done, we can go for calculation of R square. R square can be calculated by squaring your coefficient of correlation. I think many of you understand coefficient of correlation or linear correlation coefficient, which is also called as Pearson correlation coefficient. That can be worked out very easily. I think most of you are going to ISRI, so you must be knowing how to calculate this coefficient of correlation. Square this value, you will get R square. R square is known as coefficient of determination. Coefficient of determination. It will determine or it will decide the fitness of the data. You have developed a line, you have fitted a line, you have made a equation of fertilizer and yield, whether this equation is a good fit. Testing the goodness of the fit of the equation, you go for R square. So if you have very high value of R square, that means your equation was the best fit, and the residuals or data which could not be fitted, the value of residual was minimum, was very less. So in this case, R square was 0.996. That means 99.6% of the total variation in mean yield was explained by the quadratic regression equation. Means no equation can be better than this, where you get almost 100% of the variability in Y was accounted by the fertilizer. So this is how we can interpret the coefficient of determination. So now from this data, we can work out the optimum economic dose of the fertilizer. Now we have developed the equation, we have found out the equation. We have also seen that this equation is significant, and we have also seen R square, that this was the best fit. Means the equation was representing the data very well. Best fit means the equation was representing the association or relationship between X and Y, that is fertilizer and yield, very well. Means we can trust this equation, we can rely upon this equation to make predictions and also to work out the optimum economic dose of the fertilizer. So optimum economic dose is that rate which produces maximum economic return. It is very necessary, because excess dose of fertilizer is not useful. If you apply more than the optimum dose of fertilizer, first thing is that it will unnecessarily pollute the environment, number one. Number two is it will unnecessarily increase the cost of production, and sometimes it can go negative also. So considering from economic and environmental perspective, we must find out the optimum dose of the fertilizer. So it is possible to find out the optimum dose of the fertilizer if it is established that the relationship is quadratic. In case of linear relationship, we cannot determine the optimum dose of the fertilizer. And as a rule of thumb, optimal rates determined on an economic basis are smaller than those required to produce maximum crop yield. So you can see that you can apply different levels of fertilizer, and you will get the different levels of the yield or respective yields at different level of the fertilizer, and you go on increasing the fertilizer. So a point will come in the fertilizer rate where you will get the maximum yield. But it does not mean that you will get the maximum economic yield at that point, which is generally 80%. The economic optimum dose is generally 80% of the maximum yield dose. It has been experienced by people that roughly it is 80% of the maximum yield dose, this optimum dose of the fertilizer. Now, economic yield targets usually do not exceed 80% of the maximum potential yield. It does not include economic variables such as fixed cost or variable costs associated with fertilizer use or interest rate to be paid on loans for purchasing fertilizer. From the quadratic equation y is equal to a plus bx plus cx square, the optimum economic dose can be worked out easily by OED is equal to Q upon P minus B whole divided by 2C. You know, B and C are the regression coefficients that you can find from the equation. So in the last case, you can see The value of A is 4861, value of B is 26.64, and value of C is minus 0.1178. So these values can be taken from this equation, and you can see in the question you get Q upon P minus B whole divided by 2C. So in that equation, Q is the cost of one unit of input. Cost of 1 unit of input. So here cost of 1 kg K2O is 10. So in place of Q, I can put value 10. And price of 1 quintal of rice is 500 rupees. So because the units here you can see units for Y are in kg per hectare. So we need to take the price in kg. We need to take the price in per kg. What will the price of rice per kg? Price of cost, because you see in the equation we have fitted this nutrient in kg per hectare, nutrient dose. Similarly, yield dose was fitted in the equation in terms of kg per hectare. So we need to take the same unit for cost and price. For cost, it is 10 rupees for 1 kg. This is fine. Similarly, for price, it is 5 rupees for 1 kg. So it will be 10 divided by 5. So here you see the formula Q upon P minus B divided by 2C. So you can fit the values of B and C and also Q and P. So see the first line. First formula is maximum yield dose, X max. So this is the dose of the fertilizer where you get maximum yield. So this is simply minus B upon 2C. Get the value of B and C from the equation. 26.646 into 2 into minus 0.1178. So you find 113 kg K2O per hectare. This is how we calculate the maximum yield dose. Is it clear?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
Yes, sir.
oh, okay. Then comes your optimum economic dose, Q upon P minus B upon 2C. In place of Q, it is the cost of fertilizer, 1 kg fertilizer, rupees 10 divided by price of 1 kg rice, 10 by 5, minus uh, B, Q upon P minus B. So B की value is 26.646 divided by 2C. So C is minus 0.1178 into 2. So you get 104. 104.6 kg is the optimum economic dose of the fertilizer. This is the point where one can get maximum profit. So in this case, you can see maximum yield dose was 113, but optimum economic dose is 104.6. Then many times you need to work out some other economic parameters of economics, like response at optimum dose. Sometimes people ask you, what is the response at optimum dose? So response at optimum dose is equal to yield at optimum dose minus yield at control. So put the value of x, because optimum dose was 104.6, and put the value of x and 104.6 and 0 in the response equation. Because you see yield at optimum dose, first you need to work out this, and secondly yield at control. So by putting the value of 104.6 in the equation in place of x, you can work out the y, yield at optimum dose. Similarly, in place of x in the equation, if you put 0, you will get yield at control. So finally, you get 1498. So yield at optimum dose was 6359 and yield at control was 4861. So subtract this, you get 1498 kg per hectare. Means this was the actual increase in yield, which was just because of fertilizer. It was just because of fertilizer, only the fertilizer response. Means it excluded the response from the soil. It is only because of fertilizer, because we have removed the control. We have detected the control. So this is actually known as response at optimum dose, or simply people call it response. What is your fertilizer response? Means 104 kg, 104.6 kg has given you 1498 kg per hectare grain. Then response in kg per kg K2O. The meaning is response at optimum dose divided by optimum dose. So here response was 1498 divided by 104. So you get 14.32 kg grain per kg K2. And 1 kg K2O will give you 14.32 kg grain. Then comes the profit, the overall profit from 1 hectare area. Profit means value of the produce minus cost of K2O. Value of the means output and minus input is the profit. So value of produce is equal to response at optimum dose into selling price, and cost of K2O per hectare is equal to cost of 1 kg K2O into optimum dose of the fertilizer. So profit will be 1498 into 5. 5 is the price, cost of 1 kg K2O. So, sorry, 5 is the price of the 1 kg rice. 5 is the price of 1 kg rice. Minus 10 is the cost of 1 kg K2O into 104.6. So you get 6,445 rupees per hectare profit because of 104.6 kg K2O. Now return in rupees per rupee in K2O. Profit per hectare divided by cost of K2O per hectare. So it comes out to be 6.16. Means if you invest 1 rupee on potassic fertilizer, you get 6 rupees as a return. So this makes, thank you. So actually, agronomy students have studied it, but in detail, and they can easily understand this mathematics. But for soil science student or other discipline student, I think they may not have fair idea of this subject. If you do not have, I can discuss for 2 hours in detail all this concept in a practical class. Okay, so now today's lecture is over from my side, and first you can ask your questions, and those who really have a class now can go to their class, and others can stay. So we will have some discussion now, and questions can be asked by the student, and those who want to leave can leave it.